What became of the German U-boats still afloat at the end of the Second World War? On May 8, 1945, the British Admiralty, acting on terms agreed with the navies of the United States, the Soviet Union and France, transmitted the order for the surrender of every German submarine, which in order to comply with it, were to surface, report their position, and proceed under a black flag to the port assigned to them. On this point, the British researcher Derek Waller counted in the Admiralty's records a total of 156 U-boats surrendered at sea or taken in their own bases. As the Allies occupied the German ports from both fronts, however, many commanders resolved to scuttle their own boats without any order to do so. Operation Regenbogen, issued by Gross Admiral Karl Dönitz on the 30th of April, sought to organize the scuttling of the fleet before it fell into enemy hands. But on the 4th of May, faced with the Allied demand that the whole fleet be handed over intact, Dönitz was compelled to rescind it, and the code word that was to set it in motion was never transmitted. Even so, according to the British naval historian Lawrence Paterson, 217 commanders scuttled their boats in spite of the countermand. The fate of those submarines still afloat was settled that July at the Potsdam Conference. No more than 30 were to be divided equally among the three great powers for experimental and technical purposes alone, while the newly formed Tripartite Naval Commission ordered the remainder to be sunk before February 15, 1946. Under the code name Operation Deadlight, the plan was to tow the empty hulls 185 kilometers, some 115 miles, out to sea to the northwest of Ireland and sink them there with demolition charges. Although the operation began on November 27th as scheduled, the North Atlantic winter soon undid it. 56 U-boats foundered under tow, and the heavy seas made placing the charges so hazardous that the remainder had to be sunk by naval gunfire, by torpedo, and from the air. The operation closed on February 12, 1946, when the last of them, U-3514, was sunk at 4 minutes past 10 in the morning. Those that had been allocated were stripped down and studied at length, above all the Type XXI, conceived to operate submerged with no need to surface. Out of that study came the GUPPY program, with which the US Navy rebuilt its own wartime submarines in order to gain submerged speed and endurance, together with the ability to recharge their batteries while dived. Other U-boats, meanwhile, met a more practical end, serving in the Norwegian and French navies into the 1960s. Of the 100-odd submarines sunk in Deadlight, most were Type 7s and Type 9s, though there were also 4 Type 21s. Those three families make up the German submarine line in World of Warships today, the place where they put to sea again. Take the con yourself with the invitation code in the pinned comment.